John, what do you have for us?
Gee, Joe, you make it sound like it's so inconsequential.
Well, this is where you're supposed to convince me.
Okay.
That it's a big deal.
So here's my argument. We're going to talk a little bit about the Eclipse voting today. And I know that it's happened a month ago. And for all intents and purposes, if I was voting, I would have voted for the majority of the winners. There were no real close races. So this year, it didn't matter that you had a couple of people who have votes that they kind of one-offed and voted for somebody who was a writing candidate, or you really had to scratch your head and kind of think about it. But let me explain why it's important, and why the people who have the ability and have the honor and privilege to vote for Eclipse Awards, why they should take it seriously. There's so many graded stake races that are out there right now. You and I talk about that, and they can add a lot of value to a horse's pedigree. There's obviously less grade ones that have a significant amount of leverage and influence when it comes to commerciability, whether it's a stallion or a broodmare. But there's only one champion that comes out of every single crop, one for the boys, one for the girls. And that makes, the value of that horse even more important, even better, because they only mint one per crop. So when people are getting cute and they're voting for, Bright Work as the 2-year-old filly champion, you got to scratch your head and say, why is that? When they're voting for Locked as the 2-year-old colt champion, even though he ran a bad third and lost by 7 lengths in the Breeders' Cup, you got to question it. But the one that really irked me the most, and there were like 8 or 9 of them, but the one that irked me the most was, Joe, have you ever heard of a owner breeder called Coleswood Farm?
I mean, vaguely.
No, I'd never heard of him either, and I had to look it up. Okay, Coleswood Farm. The reason why I had to look it up is because Ted Black voted for Coleswell Farm as owner of the year. Okay, not Godolphin, not Rapoli, not John Abel, not any of the major. What's that?
Klarovich, big one.
Not even DJ Stable.
No.
Okay. Coleswood Farm is famous because they are a breeder in West Virginia. They had 70 starts last year. They did have a good win percentage. They won like 25 of them, which is great. One horse that they own, their best horse, was called Coastal Mission, won 8 of 10 races. None of them outside the state of West Virginia. The one time the horse ran out of West Virginia, he ran a bad 5th in the Cigar Mile. So one knucklehead went ahead and voted for him to be owner of the year. Again, doesn't really matter this year because there were no close ones. But you gotta wonder sometimes what goes through people's minds when they cast votes like this. And I'm not saying that you need to vote like everybody else, but at least be able to have some kind of evidence as to why this person or this horse should be. And if you don't have a good reason, just abstain, because there's a lot of people who do that, who abstain. Like a lot of people didn't vote for Steeplechase. I wouldn't be able to vote for Steeplechase. A lot of people didn't vote for Apprentice of the Year. A lot of people, because they felt like they had conflicts of interest, didn't vote for one in a certain category. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for that, because basically you're saying, look, you're entrusting me to make these major $1 million decisions basically with this vote. And I'm taking it seriously. And if I don't have enough of an education in this department, or I have a conflict of interest, I'm going to abstain and not vote. That's a better job than voting for Coleswood Farm in West Virginia, or voting for, and I hate to point this out because it's Jennifer Kelly, who we had on the show, but you can't vote for the wine steward to win 2-year-old champion when the horse, lost to Locked in Keeneland, and Locked got beat in the Breeders' Cup. In the Breeders' Cup. So it's stuff like that just irks me. It's no different than, I guess, when people are voting for, Baseball Hall of Fame and they don't vote like Derek Jeter in there because they just don't want Derek. They don't want to ever have a unanimous, that's not their job. Their job is not to make history. Their job is to, use their knowledge and make a statement and go ahead and vote for who they think it is. And if they really feel like, I'm picking on Jennifer, I'm picking on Ted Black and other people that I didn't name, but if you really have a reason to make us to vote for these people or for these horses, You're a writer. That's the whole reason why you're on this, why you have a vote, because you're a writer. Write something, because you know what? Maybe you can convince me. There were 8 or 9 of them that I could have talked about, but there were 12 or 13 of them that I actually crossed out, because once I look back, I said, you know what? I can see where they can make a case for this. I see where they can make a case for Nutella Fella being 2-year-old champion because he won both of his starts and then hasn't run since. So, you can make a case, maybe not a good case, but a case. But you have the platform. Go ahead and use it. And maybe you're going to convince other people to see what you see. But at the very least, if you're not wasting your vote, then at least then you're showing, you're putting your money where your mouth is. I think a lot of people vote and figure it's going to be secret. But kudos to Ed DeRosa for making this public and for sharing the Eclipse final tally. And Joe, I know I'm going on a rant primarily because I have COVID and I have a fever. But you have to take this seriously, because there's tens of millions of dollars in the balance when you don't take these votes seriously. And this year it didn't matter, but there are other years where it's very close, and your knucklehead vote for a writing candidate that doesn't belong to be there could affect, the breeding industry and also the commerciability of certain horses.